The crack of my mother's hand slamming across my face silenced 200 people in an instant. In that frozen moment, every eye turned to watch me stumble backward, my cheek burning, while 10 feet away, my fiancé slid a diamond ring onto my sister's finger under glittering chandelier lights. The physical pain was nothing. What shattered me was realizing I'd been erased from my own life story. That night, the girl who'd believed in family and love died in that ballroom. What rose from her ashes was something they would never see coming. But before I tell you what happened next, if you're enjoying this story of how I went from being the family doormat to becoming the woman who made them all pay, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support means everything, and I promise this story gets even better. Drop a comment below, telling me what you would have done in my situation. Now let me take you back to where it all began. 5 years earlier, I was a different person. Willow Chen, the eldest daughter of the prestigious Chen family of Boston. My father, David Chen, had built a successful import-export business, and my mother, Linda, had cultivated our family's position in Boston's high society with the precision of a military general. Then there was Scarlett, my younger sister by 3 years. Beautiful, charming, everything I wasn't supposed to be. I was the smart one, the responsible one, the one who got straight A's at MIT, who could code in 7 programming languages by the time I was 20, who spent Friday nights in the computer lab instead of at parties. I wore oversized sweaters and had my hair in a perpetual ponytail. I thought intelligence would be enough. I thought being good would be enough. Ethan Whitmore came into my life during my senior year at MIT. He was a year ahead of me studying political science at Harvard, devastatingly handsome, with that all-American look, sandy blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We met at a networking event my mother dragged me to. He approached me, genuinely interested in my thesis on cybersecurity protocols. We talked for 3 hours straight. My mother was thrilled. The Whitmore family was old Boston money, the kind of connection she'd been cultivating for years. Ethan's father was a senior partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the city, and Ethan himself had political ambitions. A future congressman, maybe even senator. Linda saw it all a perfect merger of families of social standing of power. For 2 years, Ethan and I built something I thought was real. He'd show up at my apartment with coffee and pastries when I was pulling all-nighters. He'd listen to me ramble about encryption algorithms and never looked bored. He introduced me to his parents, who seemed to approve of me, the brilliant young woman who would be an asset to their son's future. We talked about getting married after I finished my graduate program. We looked at apartments in Cambridge. We planned a life together. I should have seen the signs. The way my mother always seemed to orchestrate situations where Scarlett would be around when Ethan visited. The way she'd make subtle comments about my appearance, suggesting I should dress more like my sister, wear makeup, do something with my hair. The way Ethan started cancelling our Friday date nights more frequently, saying he had campaign strategy meetings for his upcoming run for state representative. Scarlett had graduated from Boston University with a degree in communications and immediately started working for a PR firm that specialised in political campaigns. She was everything I wasn't: polished, socially, graceful, comfortable in the spotlight. She knew how to work a room, how to smile for cameras, how to say exactly what people wanted to hear. And my mother had been grooming her for this role her entire life. The anniversary party was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. My parents' 30th wedding anniversary held at the prestigious Harbour Club overlooking Boston Harbour. 300 guests, the cream of Boston society. I'd bought a new dress, actually spent time on my hair and makeup. Ethan had been acting strange all week, nervous and distracted, and I'd convinced myself it was because he was planning to propose that night. We talked about it. The timing was perfect. Our families would be there, the setting was romantic, it all made sense. I arrived early to help with last-minute preparations. My mother barely acknowledged me, too busy directing the catering staff and making sure every detail was perfect. Scarlett looked stunning in a red gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent holding court, with a group of my parents' friends laughing, that musical laugh of hers that made everyone adore her. Ethan arrived 30 minutes before the party started sweating, despite the air conditioning, his tie slightly crooked. I reached up to straighten it, smiling, trying to calm his nerves. I thought he was nervous about proposing. God, I was so naive. The party began. Champagne flowed. The string quartet played. My father gave a touching speech about 30 years of marriage, about partnership and love and building a life together. My mother beamed beside him, elegant in her designer gown, every inch the society matron she'd worked so hard to become. Then she took the microphone. I was standing near the back of the room, Ethan beside me, his hand clammy in mine. My mother's voice rang out clear and confident. David and I are so blessed to celebrate this milestone with all of you, our dearest friends and family. But tonight isn't just about us. Tonight we have another wonderful announcement to make. My heart started racing. This was it. I squeezed Ethan's hand, but he didn't squeeze back. He was staring straight ahead, his face pale. I'm thrilled to announce the engagement of our beautiful daughter Scarlett to the brilliant Ethan Whitmore. Please join me in congratulating the happy couple. The spotlight swung across the room, landing on Scarlett, and a second figure I hadn't noticed standing beside her. But it couldn't be. Ethan was right next to me. Except when I turned, he wasn't. The space beside me was empty. He was crossing the room, climbing the steps to the small stage where my mother stood, where Scarlett waited with that perfect smile on her face. The room erupted in applause. I stood frozen, invisible, as 200 people cheered for my sister and my fiancé. No one looked at me. No one noticed that I was there, standing alone, my hands trembling, my mind unable to process what was happening. Scarlett held up her left hand, showing off a massive diamond ring that caught the light and sent rainbows scattering across the ceiling. Ethan put his arm around her waist. My mother beamed like she'd just won the lottery. My father stood to the side, uncomfortable but silent as always. I don't remember walking toward the stage. I don't remember pushing through the crowd. But suddenly, I was there, grabbing Ethan's arm, spinning him around to face me. What is this? My voice came out strangled, barely above a whisper. Ethan couldn't meet my eyes. Willow, I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. Told me what we're engaged. We've been together for 2 years. We're supposed to be getting married. Scarlett's hand was on his other arm now, proprietary, confident. Oh, Willow, don't be dramatic. You two were never really engaged. You were just dating. We talked about marriage. We looked at apartments. We planned. Plans change. My mother's voice cut through sharp and cold. She'd stepped off the stage and was suddenly beside me, her hand gripping my elbow, hard enough to bruise. Let's talk privately, shall we? She practically dragged me through the crowd, past curious onlookers, past friends and family who'd known me my entire life and now looked away as I passed. We ended up in the women's restroom, all marble and gold fixtures and the heavy scent of expensive perfume. The moment the door closed, my mother's face transformed. The warm, gracious smile vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating that I'd seen glimpses of before but never directed at me so fully. Listen to me very carefully, Willow. This is for the best. For the best, Mum. He's my fiancé. He's been my boyfriend for 2 years. How is this? He was never really yours. She said it so matter-of-factly, like she was commenting on the weather. Ethan needs a proper wife, someone who can help his political career, someone who knows how to dress, how to speak to donors, how to smile for cameras. Look at yourself. I looked in the mirror, saw my simple black dress, my minimal makeup, my hair that I'd actually tried with tonight but still looked plain compared to Scarlett's glossy perfection. You're a computer nerd, Willow. A brilliant one, I'll give you that. But Ethan needs a first lady, not a programmer. Scarlett is perfect for him. She understands what it takes to be in the public eye, and honestly, I'm saving both of you. You would have made him miserable and he would have held you back from your little tech career. The cruelty of it, the casual dismissal of everything I'd felt, everything I'd planned hit me like a physical blow. You planned this. You set this up. Of course I did. I'm your mother. It's my job to steer this family towards success. Scarlett and Ethan are a perfect match. Their children will be beautiful and charming and politically connected. Your children would have been awkward and bookish. Something inside me snapped. I raised my hand to slap her, to do something, anything, to make her feel a fraction of the pain I was feeling. But before my hand could connect, the door burst open. Scarlett rushed in, her eyes wide with fake concern. "What's happening, Willow? Are you threatening Mum?" "I'm not." Scarlett stumbled backward, dramatically catching herself on the sink. "She tried to hit me, Mum. She tried to hit me." I didn't even touch her. My mother's hand connected with my face so hard my ears rang. The slap echoed off the marble walls. "How dare you? After everything this family has done for you. After all the opportunities we've given you. And this is how you repay us, with violence and jealousy." 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. My mother's face was the picture of distressed concern. "I'm so sorry, but my daughter is having some kind of breakdown. She's been acting unstable lately, jealous of her sister's happiness. She just attacked Scarlett. I need you to escort her out before she causes a scene." That's not what happened, but they weren't listening. Strong hands gripped my arms, pulling me backward. I struggled, tried to explain, but my mother's voice followed me out. "Get her out of here, and don't let her back in. We have guests to think about." They hauled me through the service entrance, past kitchen staff who studiously avoided looking at me, and out into the alley behind the club. It was raining, cold November, rain that soaked through my dress in seconds. The door slammed shut behind me, and I heard the lock click into place. I stood there in the rain, mascara running down my face. My phone and purse still inside at the table I'd been sitting at before everything exploded. Through a window, I could see the party continuing. My mother was back on stage, laughing, raising her champagne glass. Scarlett and Ethan were dancing, her head on his shoulder, his arms around her waist. And I was standing in an alley in the rain, shivering and alone, everything I'd believed about my life shattered around me like broken glass. I walked, I don't know for how long. The rain kept falling. Eventually, I found myself at my apartment in Cambridge, soaked to the bone, teeth chattering. My roommate Sarah took one look at me and pulled me inside, wrapped me in blankets, made me tea I couldn't taste. What happened? I told her everything, every humiliating detail. She listened, her face growing darker with anger as the story unfolded. "You need to leave," she said finally. "Not just the apartment, Boston, all of it. You need to get as far away from those toxic people as possible. They're my family. They're poison, and if you stay here, they'll keep poisoning you." She was right. I knew she was right. But the thought of leaving, of starting over, terrified me. Boston was all I knew. My job at a local tech startup, my friends from my team, my entire life was here. Over the next 3 days, I called Ethan 17 times. He never answered. I texted nothing. I showed up at his apartment, but the doorman had been instructed not to let me up. I tried to call my father, but his secretary said he was unavailable. Even Scarlett blocked my number. My mother sent one text. "Stop embarrassing yourself. Move on with dignity." Dignity, as if she knew anything about dignity. On the 4th day, I made a decision. Sarah helped me pack. We sold most of my furniture, my books, everything I couldn't fit in 2 suitcases. I emptied my savings account, bought a one-way ticket to Seattle, and by that evening, I was on a plane heading west. I'd done my master's thesis with Michael Chen, no relation, a brilliant but eccentric programmer who dropped out of his PhD to start his own cybersecurity consulting firm in Seattle. We'd kept in touch. When I called him from the airport, crying and incoherent, he didn't ask questions. He just said, "Come, I have a spare room and a job offer if you want it." Seattle was grey and rainy and nothing like Boston. Michael's apartment was in Capitol Hill above a coffee shop that played indie music too loudly. He gave me space, asked no questions, just showed me to the guest room and left a key on the kitchen counter. The first week, I barely functioned. I'd wake up work on whatever coding project Michael assigned me and go back to sleep. I didn't eat unless Sarah, who called every day, bullied me into it. I didn't cry. I was beyond crying. I felt hollow, scooped out, like someone had reached into my chest and removed all the parts that made me human. The second week, I got angry. Really, truly, incandescently angry. I'd lie awake at night replaying every moment, every sign I'd missed, every time my mother had subtly put me down or positioned Scarlett as the better daughter, every time Ethan had cancelled plans or seemed distant. All the pieces I hadn't wanted to see suddenly became crystal clear. They'd used me. My mother had used my relationship with Ethan to bring him into the family orbit. And then she'd traded me out for the daughter she actually wanted him to marry. Ethan had gone along with it because Scarlett was better for his image, his career, his ambitions. And I'd been too naive, too trusting, too desperate for my mother's approval to see it happening. In the third week, I cut my hair, went to a salon, and told them to cut off the long, boring ponytail I'd had since high school. The stylist, a woman with pink streaks and multiple piercings, studied my face and said, "You want to look like someone new?" "I want to look like someone who doesn't take shit from anyone." She grinned. "I can work with that." When I looked in the mirror an hour later, I barely recognised myself. Short, sharp bob that framed my face. Subtle highlights that brought out colours I didn't know were in my hair. I looked older, harder, better. I bought new clothes. Nothing like the oversized sweaters and jeans I'd lived in. Tailored blazers, sleek dresses, heels that made me 3 inches taller. I learned to do makeup from YouTube tutorials, transforming my face from plain to striking. But the biggest change was internal. I stopped trying to please people, stopped making myself smaller so others could feel bigger. Michael noticed the shift immediately. You're different," he said one morning over coffee. "I'm done being weak." "You were never weak. You were just wasting your strength on people who didn't deserve it." Michael's consulting firm was small, but prestigious, handling cybersecurity for tech companies and financial institutions. I threw myself into the work with a ferocity that surprised even me. 18-hour days, weekends. I learned everything I could about network security, penetration testing, threat analysis. I was good at it. Better than good. Brilliant. 6 months after I arrived in Seattle, Michael called me into his office. "I have a proposal." "I'm listening." "I want to start a new company, focused specifically on cybersecurity for financial institutions. Banks, investment firms, cryptocurrency platforms. The market is exploding and most of the current solutions are garbage. We could do better." I need a co-founder, someone I trust, someone who's as good as I am, maybe better, someone who's hungry enough to work as hard as this is going to take. He looked at me levelly. "I think that's you." I should have been scared. I was 25 years old with a master's degree and 6 months of real-world experience. Starting a company was insane, but fear felt like a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. "I'm in." We called the company Aegis after the shield of Zeus. We worked out of Michael's apartment for the first 6 months, living on ramen and coffee coding until our eyes burned. Our first client was a small credit union in Oregon that paid us $5,000 to audit their security. We found 37 vulnerabilities. They hired us to fix all of them. Word spread. Michael had connections in the tech world from his PhD days. I turned out to have a talent for sales, for explaining complex security concepts in ways that terrified executives into opening their wallets. Within a year, we had 20 clients and had to hire our first employees. By year 2, we'd moved into a real office, a converted warehouse in Sodo, with exposed brick and huge windows. We had 40 employees, revenue hit $5 million, venture capitalists started circling. By year 3, we'd raised our Series A $15 million at a valuation that made my head spin. We were on the cover of TechCrunch. The young geniuses making the internet safer. Michael hated the publicity. I'd learned to tolerate it, even use it. By year 4, we were a unicorn, a private company valued at over $1 billion. We had offices in San Francisco, New York, and London. Fortune 500 companies were begging us to take them on as clients. The Wall Street Journal called me the Ice Queen of Silicon Valley because of my reputation for ruthless negotiation and my refusal to suffer fools. I'd also started dating Michael. It happened gradually, so slowly that neither of us noticed until we were already in love. He understood me in ways no one else ever had. He saw my ambition not as something threatening or unfeminine, but as exciting and attractive. We were partners in every sense of the word. He proposed on the anniversary of the day I'd arrived in Seattle, 5 years after I'd fled Boston in tears. We were hiking in the Cascades, and he got down on one knee on a ridge overlooking a glacier-fed lake. "I don't have a romantic speech prepared," he said. "I'm not good at that stuff, but you're the smartest, strongest, most amazing person I've ever met, and I want to spend the rest of my life building things with you. So will you marry me?" I said yes before he had even finished the question. We got married 3 months later, a small ceremony on the roof of our office building with our employees and a handful of close friends. No family on my side. I hadn't spoken to any of them in 5 years. I'd blocked their numbers, deleted. My social media accounts disappeared so completely that they probably assumed I'd crawled into a hole somewhere to lick my wounds. They had no idea what I'd become, but I knew everything about them, because while I'd been building my empire, I'd also been watching them destroy themselves. I'd hired a private investigator 2 years into my Seattle life. Partly out of curiosity, partly because some vindictive part of me wanted to know if they were suffering. What I learned was even better than I'd hoped. My father's business had been struggling since before I left, but my mother's spending habits had masked the problems. She'd been living off credit, maintaining their social position with borrowed money. Country club memberships, designer wardrobes, charity galas, it all cost money they didn't have. 18 months after I left, my father had to take out a massive loan to keep the business afloat. But his business model was outdated, unable to compete with younger, more agile competitors. The loan came due. He couldn't pay it. The house in Brookline, the one I'd grown up in, went up for sale to cover debts. They'd moved to a smaller house in a less prestigious neighbourhood. My mother was humiliated. Her friends from the club started avoiding her. Invitations to the right parties dried up. She was yesterday's news, a cautionary tale about living beyond your means. Scarlett and Ethan had gotten married in an elaborate ceremony 6 months after their engagement. My mother had spared no expense, probably contributing to the family's financial collapse. Ethan won his election to state representative largely thanks to Scarlett's campaigning skills and the connections my mother's networking had provided. But Ethan turned out to be weak in ways that mattered. He was handsome and charismatic, but spineless when it came to actual governance. He aligned himself with whichever lobbyist paid him the most attention. Rumours of corruption started almost immediately. Nothing provable, but enough smoke that people wondered about fire. Scarlett, meanwhile, had discovered that being a politician's wife was boring. The investigators' reports included photos of her having lunch with various men, looking far too intimate for friendship. She had been maintaining an affair with one of Ethan's political rivals for almost a year. Ethan himself had developed a gambling problem. Online poker sports betting trips to Connecticut casinos. He'd burned through most of his trust fund and had started embezzling from his campaign funds to cover his debts. They were all falling apart, and they had no idea that I was watching, waiting, planning. The opportunity came 6 months after my wedding. My investigator called with interesting news. "Your father's company is looking for a significant investment. They're desperate. They've approached several venture capital firms, but everyone's passing. The business model is too outdated, the debt too high." How much do they need? $50 million to restructure debt and modernise operations. Without it, they'll be bankrupt within the year. I smiled. Find out who they're talking to. I want to know every firm that's considering the investment. It took 2 weeks to set up. I created a shell company, Prometheus Ventures, registered in Delaware with layers of ownership that would take a forensic accountant months to untangle. Through Prometheus, I let it be known that we were interested in distressed manufacturing and distribution companies. My father's business came across our desk. I read the proposal with clinical detachment. The company I'd grown up hearing about that had paid for my education and my childhood home reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet. Numbers that didn't look good. But I made an offer anyway. $50 million in exchange for 60% equity and operational control. It was highway robbery. but they had no other options. The offer came with one condition: the current ownership and management had to travel to our Seattle headquarters to finalize the deal in person. They accepted within 24 hours. Ethan was also desperate for money. His campaign for US Congress was floundering. He'd burned too many bridges, made too many enemies. He needed a major donor, someone who could inject serious cash into his campaign and give him credibility. Through different channels, Prometheus Ventures let it be known that we were interested in supporting young political talent in the Northeast. Ethan's campaign manager reached out immediately. We offered to discuss a potential partnership. Same condition: come to Seattle to meet with our investment committee. They booked flights for the following week. My father, my mother, Scarlett and Ethan, all coming to Seattle thinking they were meeting with some anonymous venture capitalists who'd save them from the consequences of their own stupidity. Michael thought I was crazy. "You don't have to do this," he said the night before they arrived. "You've already won. You built an amazing company. You're successful beyond anything they could imagine. Why risk dredging up all that band? Because success isn't enough." I was standing on the balcony of our house, a modern glass and steel structure on Lake Washington, with views that made people literally gasp when they first saw them. They need to know that they didn't break me, that every terrible thing they did only made me stronger, and they need to face consequences, real consequences. And if it doesn't make you feel better, then at least it will make them feel worse. He kissed my forehead. "I'll be right beside you, whatever you need." The meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. at our house. I'd considered doing it at the office, but this felt more personal, more intimate. I wanted them in my space, surrounded by evidence of everything I'd built without them. I spent the day at the office trying to work, but mostly watching the clock. Michael kept checking on me, bringing me coffee I didn't drink, asking if I was okay. I wasn't okay. I was terrified and exhilarated and furious all at once. 5 years of planning had led to this moment. At 6:30, I went home to change. I chose my outfit carefully, a black Armani suit that cost more than my mother used to spend on my entire wardrobe for a year. Louboutin heels, my wedding ring, a custom-designed platinum and diamond piece that had been featured in Vogue. Hair and makeup flawless. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw someone unrecognizable from the girl they'd thrown away. I looked powerful, untouchable, dangerous. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. My housekeeper Maria answered it. I'd instructed her to show them to the living room and offer drinks, make them wait 15 minutes before announcing me. I wanted them uncomfortable, off balance. I watched them on the security camera feed from my bedroom. My father looked older, greyer, the weight of his failures visible in the hunch of his shoulders. My mother was still beautiful, but harder, somehow lines around her mouth that hadn't been there before. Scarlett looked annoyed, checking her phone constantly. Ethan kept fidgeting with his tie. They were seated on the white leather sectional that faced the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful, deliberately, devastatingly beautiful. Maria offered them champagne. My mother accepted immediately. My father declined. Scarlett took a glass and downed half of it in one swallow. Ethan paced, too nervous to sit. "This house is incredible," Scarlett said to no one in particular. "Whoever owns this place must be loaded." "I heard Prometheus Ventures is run by someone under 30, Ethan added. "Some tech genius who sold their first company for hundreds of millions." My mother was studying the artwork on the walls, originals by contemporary Pacific Northwest artists that I'd collected over the years. Her expression was calculating, probably mentally tallying what everything cost. 15 minutes stretched to 20. Let them wait. Let them wonder. Let them sit in my house and feel small. Finally, I descended the stairs. Michael was beside me, his hand on the small of my back. We'd choreographed this entrance. Maximum impact. The living room went silent. 4 faces turned toward us. Recognition dawned in slow motion. My mother dropped her champagne glass. It hit the travertine floor and shattered golden liquid spreading across the stone. Ethan's face went white. Actually, white like all the blood had drained from his head. Scarlett's mouth fell open, her eyes wide with shock. My father just stared, his expression unreadable. "Hello," I said, my voice calm and pleasant. "Thank you for coming all this way. I'm the managing partner of Prometheus Ventures. I believe you're here to discuss investment opportunities." My mother found her voice first. She always did. "Willow." She stood, trying to regain composure, trying to slip back into the role of mother. "Sweetheart, we had no idea. If we'd known it was you would have what—" I cut her off, walking past her to the bar cart, pouring myself a glass of wine with steady hands. "Not come. That would have been unfortunate. We have so much to discuss." "This is quite a surprise," my father said quietly. "You've done well for yourself." "I've done better than, well, Dad. I've built a billion-dollar company from scratch. But you knew that, didn't you? You must have done your research before coming here." "We knew Prometheus was successful," Ethan stammered. "We didn't know it was you." "Of course you didn't. I made sure of that." I sat down in the armchair across from them, crossing my legs, completely relaxed. Michael stood behind me, silent but present. The beauty of shell companies and clever legal structures. You can be anyone you want to be. Scarlett had recovered enough to try anger. "This is insane. You can't just—" "I can do whatever I want, Scarlett. That's what happens when you're worth $900 million and climbing. You get to make the rules." My mother was trying a different tactic, now the warm, motherly approach that had never actually been warm or motherly. "Darling, I know we had a misunderstanding 5 years ago." "A misunderstanding?" I laughed, and it was not a kind sound. "Is that what we're calling it? You orchestrated my public humiliation, had me physically thrown out of my own family event, and cut me off completely. That's not a misunderstanding, Mother. That's cruelty." "I was trying to protect you," she insisted. "You and Ethan weren't right for each other. I could see it, even if you couldn't. You were protecting your social status. You wanted Scarlett to marry Ethan because she looked better on his arm, because she could help his political career in ways I couldn't, because she was what you wanted a daughter to be, and I was just an embarrassment." The room was silent. Even Scarlett seemed to have run out of comebacks. "But that's ancient history," I continued. "We're here to talk business. Dad, you need $50 million to save your company. Ethan, you need funding for your congressional campaign. I have the money. The question is, do you really want it from me?" My father spoke carefully. "What are your terms?" "For the business investment, 60% equity operational control. And you step down as CEO. I'll install my own management team. You can stay on as a consultant if you want, but you have no decision-making power." "That's robbery," my mother snapped. "The company is worth more than that. The company is worth exactly what someone is willing to pay for it. And right now, I'm the only someone offering. Take it or leave it." My father nodded slowly. "And for Ethan's campaign—" "Ah, yes." I turned to Ethan, who looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. "I'll contribute $5 million to your campaign fund. In exchange, you drop out of the race and publicly endorse my candidate of choice." "What? No, I'm not dropping out. I've worked too hard." "You've embezzled campaign funds to cover your gambling debts." I said it flatly, watching his face go from white to grey. "I have documentation, bank records, security footage from the Mohegan Sun Casino. Everything. If you don't drop out and disappear from public life, I'll release it all. You'll be lucky if jail time is all you face." Scarlett stood up abruptly. "You can't do this. You can't blackmail." "Sit down, Scarlett." My voice was ice. She sat. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few times, and the wall-mounted TV flickered to life. A slideshow began to play. Bank statements showing Ethan's embezzlement, photos of Scarlett having intimate dinners with Marcus Wellborn, Ethan's political rival. More photos, even more intimate, from a hotel in Cambridge. I can't just blackmail Ethan," I said pleasantly. "I can destroy all of you. Scarlett, your affair with Marcus, very well documented. Ethan, your corruption, extensively recorded. Mother, did you know that your membership at the Harbour Club is currently in arrears, that you've been writing bad checks? That's a crime too. My mother's face was the colour of spoiled milk. How did you? I've been watching you for 3 years. Every move, every mistake, every nasty little secret. I know everything. The slideshow continued. Photos of my mother shopping at designer stores, while my father's business collapsed. Documentation of loans in default. Evidence of tax evasion minor but prosecutable. A complete record of their downfall compiled meticulously over years. Why? My father asked quietly. Why go to all this trouble? Because 5 years ago, you all made me feel like I was worthless, like I was nothing. You threw me away like garbage because I didn't fit your idea of who I should be. And I want you to know that you made the biggest mistake of your lives. We never said you were worthless, my mother tried. You said I was an embarrassment, that my children would be awkward and bookish, that Ethan needed a real wife, not a computer nerd. You slapped me in front of your friends and had security throw me into the street like trash. Don't you dare tell me you never said I was worthless. For the first time, my mother had no response. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Dad, you're going to sign over 60% of your company to me tomorrow morning. My lawyers have already prepared the paperwork. Mum, you're going to sign a postnuptial agreement giving Dad full control of any remaining assets in exchange for him not divorcing you immediately for the financial fraud you've committed. My father's head snapped up. Divorce? She's been hiding debt from you for years, Dad, forging your signature on loan documents. She's the reason your company is failing. Did you think all those expensive shopping trips and country club bills paid themselves? My mother's expression crumbled. David, I can explain. You'll have plenty of time to explain to your divorce attorney, I said. Because, Dad, you are going to divorce her. It's a condition of my investment. She's toxic, and I won't have her anywhere near the business. My father looked at my mother, and for the first time I saw something like hatred in his eyes. You've been lying to me. To save face, to maintain our position, you have no idea what it's like, the pressure. Save it. He stood looking older than ever. I'll sign your papers, Willow, and I'll file for divorce tomorrow. One down. Ethan, you're going to announce tomorrow that you're withdrawing from the race due to personal health concerns. You'll endorse Marcus Wellborn, yes, the man your wife is sleeping with, and then you're going to quietly plead guilty to the embezzlement charges. I've already arranged a deal with the prosecutor. You'll serve 2 years minimum security, and your political career will be over. You vindictive bitch, Ethan spat. Michael moved so fast I barely saw it. He had Ethan by the collar, lifting him slightly off his feet. You don't talk to my wife like that. You don't talk to her at all. You gave up that right when you humiliated her to advance your pathetic career. He dropped Ethan back onto the couch. Ethan wisely stayed quiet. And Scarlett, I looked at my sister, who was crying now, mascara running down her perfect face. You don't get a deal. You just get to live with the consequences of your choices. Your husband is going to jail. Your lover is going to use you for a few months and then dump you when you're no longer useful. You'll be divorced, penniless and unemployable. No one wants to hire the woman who slept with her husband's political rival while he was embezzling campaign funds. That's the kind of scandal that follows you forever. You're destroying my entire life, she whispered. No, Scarlett, I'm just letting the natural consequences of your actions play out. You destroyed your own life. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. My father looked at me with something that might have been respect. You've thought of everything. I've had 5 years to think about it. 5 years of watching you all implode while I built something real, something good, something that doesn't rely on manipulating or using people. Is this what you wanted? My mother asked bitterly. To see us suffer? I wanted you to understand what you threw away. I wanted you to know that the daughter you discarded, the one you said wasn't good enough, became better than all of you combined. I wanted you to feel a fraction of the humiliation you put me through. Congratulations, Ethan said bitterly. You won. I won 5 years ago when I got on that plane to Seattle. This is just closure. Maria appeared in the doorway. Shall I show the guests out, Mrs. Chen? Mrs. Chen, my married name. Another reminder that I'd moved on, built a new life, become someone new. Yes, please. They were just leaving. They stood a broken family, a shattered political career, a ruined social climber, and a cheating wife. Everything they'd built on lies and manipulation was crumbling, and they had no one to blame but themselves. My mother stopped at the door. I really did think I was helping you, you know. I thought Ethan would hold you back. You were wrong, I said simply, about everything. She left without another word. My father paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you've built here, who you've become. It's worth nothing, Dad. You had 5 years to be proud of me. You chose silence. So again, my ass. He nodded, accepting that, and followed the others out. Only Ethan looked back. I did love you, you know, in my own way. Your way wasn't good enough, and mine is better off without it. The door closed. Michael pulled me close. I was shaking, adrenaline finally catching up with me. How do you feel? He asked. I don't know. Powerful, sick, relieved, all of it. You were magnificent. I was cruel. They earned it. We stood there for a long time watching the last light fade from the sky, the lake turning dark below us. 6 months later, everything fell exactly as I'd predicted. My father's company thrived under new management. He moved to Seattle, started therapy, and we began carefully rebuilding our relationship over coffee. Ethan went to jail, his political dreams dead. Scarlett divorced him and ended up working as a receptionist in New York, the same job she'd started with out of college, all her connections gone. My mother lost everything in the divorce and now sells handbags at Nordstrom in Quincy. Turns out all that charm was good for something after all. As for me, Aegis went public, making Michael and me billionaires. We launched a foundation for young women in STEM from difficult backgrounds, funding scholarships and mentorship programs for girls who reminded me of who I used to be. I still think about that night. The shock on their faces when I walked down those stairs. The moment they realised the daughter they had thrown away had become untouchable. But mostly I think about the girl I was before, the one who believed being good enough, smart enough would earn their love. I don't miss her. She was naive. But I'm grateful to her because her pain taught me everything. Your value doesn't come from other people's approval. You set your own worth. You define your own success. Anyone who tries to make you feel small is just threatened by how big you could become. They tried to make me nothing. Instead, they made me everything I was meant to be. So tell me, what would you do? Seek revenge or walk away? Drop your answer below. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been underestimated or discarded, smash that like button and subscribe. Share your own story in the comments. I read every single one, because here's the truth. The best revenge isn't just success. It's becoming so unstoppable that your enemies can't even comprehend the level you're operating on. Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.